Good evening, everybody. This is THFC Till I Die, the past, present, and hopefully the future of Tottenham Hotspur. We're still waiting. By the way, Dermot's having a night off, so I'm just sitting in for this brief update to keep you informed as to what's happened or maybe not happened over the last 24 hours in our search for what's potentially our new manager, although technically Antonio Conte is still in charge. He has not been removed from his post yet. even though all the pundits and the big money is on that happening inside the next few days, and probably as soon as possible, really, because we don't want the uncertainty of not having a manager going into the next round of matches. So, as you're aware, Antonio Conte made a rather, many have called ill-advised outburst on Saturday evening after the 3-3 draw with Southampton, a game we were winning comfortably and suddenly weren't winning comfortably. And he went and vented off to the press, allegedly before he said anything to the players. I think, and that's what's affecting a lot of people's thoughts on this, that he shouldn't have done that. Things like that are best said in-house, and don't let the rabble of the press get hold of it and turn it into some sort of crisis, which in the event really it is, because I mean it's typical Tottenham, really. You know, we have a world-class manager, and for whatever reason, he's now gone and shouted his mouth off and got himself into all sorts of trouble and left the club in kind of limbo land yet again. Anyway, before we get on with, there's about three or four topics I want to cover in this short broadcast. Let's just see who's in the house. Carl Simpson is in it. Good man, Carl. You're always there. Very loyal fan. Thanks a million. And he said odds are 4 odds are 4-1 that Dermot has been in the live stream at some point. Well, it's possibly. You want to be quick now because I'm not going to be here that long, you know. And Carl's also saying, a bit of interesting news here. Paul Mitchell came out tonight and said he's leaving Monaco. Now, the conspiracy theorist in me can put 2 and 2 together there and possibly come up with 5,327. But could that be? I've got a topic. This might tie in with a topic I'm going to discuss in a minute. So I'll just put this one on hold for a minute, Carl. I'll put a star beside it. So you're getting a star there. It's like being back at school, you know. But basically, I just want to run a few things by you tonight to see if run up a few things up the flagpole and see what comes down. And we're going to start off with the great, in his own mind anyway, the great Mr. Simon Jordan, who on one of his many forays onto TalkSport today reckons that Conte should be sacked without a payoff. And the reason for that, he reckons that Conte has brought the game into disrepute by going directly to the press on Saturday evening without going to the dressing room, even if you can believe the rumours. He did not even go near the team. He just went straight to the press room and vented his spleen about the performance. And Simon Jordan, being an ex-owner of a club, probably knows a thing or two about contracts. And I would imagine there is a clause in Conte's contract, a confidentiality clause, that you don't discuss anything in public that's not supposed to be discussed within public. So I reckon if Levy wants a reason to sack him, he probably has a breach of contract reason for getting rid of him. And that may well be what he'll use. And if there's a clause that Levy can get out of paying Conte any money, you can be sure he'll use it, because that's the way our Daniel does things. But we'll see what happens there. I mean, obviously, whenever he is, if and when he is removed from office, the reason we'll be giving, and I'll be surprised if breach of contract doesn't come in there somewhere. Echo Fox is saying here, good night, good to see you in the chat. It said Liverpool may be looking at Paul Mitchell for their open position. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it's possibly. That's quite true. And Carl Simpson on the same subject, he said apparently Liverpool and United are interested, but it's time for Levy to beg for forgiveness and beg him to come back. Yeah. Now that I'm just going to jump ahead to my next point on this one, and this is, will Paratici be sacked as well? There is a train of thought going around, and again, this is a wee bit high in the sky. It may not be anywhere near the truth. Is that Paratici was strongly involved in the recruitment of Antonio Conte and persuaded Daniel Levy to take the guy on at a ridiculously high salary. I think we all agree 15 million is a lot of money to pay anybody. And there is talk now, be it false or true, I just do not know, that Paratici has been kind of blamed now for being too closely attached to Conte, and that he may fall on his sword as well as Conte when the reckoning comes. Now, there's also the little matter of his ban in Italy for his shenanigans at Juventus. And apparently the appeal is due for, well, it's been heard, the appeal's been heard, but the result of the appeal, I think, is due out in mid-April. Now, there is a train of thought going around that if that appeal is unsuccessful, then the UEFA will move to make the ban worldwide, which means that Paratici will not be able to work in England, which effectively he's sacking himself. So maybe this Paul Mitchell thing is a plan B for Levy. But I would imagine someone that's worked under Daniel Levy once, unless you're Mauricio Pochettino, might not be too anxious to come back a second time. But that's one that we keep an eye on. And hopefully, Paul Mitchell did a great job when he was at Spurs, and it was a big miss when he left. So that would be nice to get him back, because for all the Paratici's done, he's flattered to deceive on a lot of things. He hasn't really delivered what we thought he would. Not yet. Now, that may be not all his fault. He may not have been given the backing. We did hear he's brought players to the club that Levy has been refused to sign the check for. So, maybe it's not all his fault. Anyway, to go back to the comments, Carl again is saying, I wouldn't sack Paratici as we would need to pay him. Wait until the end of the month and he'll be banned anyway. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's another month. I think it's the 19th of April. I think that appeal has been decided on. So we'll have to wait and see if that's the case. But interesting times. I mean, there could be a complete change of manager, both managerial coach and managerial director of football type stuff. So it's never a dull moment as a Tottenham fan, that's for sure, even though none of us really want to be in this position at all, And the next bit I'm going to talk about, this is a little quirky thing I saw today from the manager we had back in 2014, and most of us wish he'd never been near the place, was Tim Sherwood. Tim Sherwood today reckons he prevented Levy from selling Harry Kane to Leicester in 2014, when Harry was only emerging as a striker at that stage, for the ridiculously low fee of 600 grand. So, if Tim Sherwood did prevent that transfer from going through, and we have to be grateful to him, because where would our goals have come from for the last 8 or 9 years? But I thought that was interesting now today, that Harry, who had been on loan at Leicester, I think around that time, and scored a couple of goals for them, could easily have gone back to them as a player, and we would not be having our great striker, the world's best striker, on our books since 2014. So that's an interesting one. And here's another one from Echo Fox, and this is kind of backing up what I said earlier. He's saying Levy and Mitchell didn't get along at the end of the tenure, so Levy would need to admit mistakes of the past and make up. Yeah, good luck with that. Daniel doesn't admit to too many mistakes, but I think this will be an important one to actually say something about if he really wants to get Mitchell back. If that's the case, if that's the way things are going, we don't really know if that's what's the way things are going. And there's just the last topic that I got on this short show is rumors are that Spurs have contacted Luis Enrique, the ex-Spanish manager, who is out of a job since he left the Spain job in the summer after the World Cup, or the winter after the World Cup. He's supposed to be good at bringing up young players through the ranks. Daniel Levy's first choice is obvious, as we know, is Mauricio Pochettino. But that one is quite a baffling one to me, because we've been watching the papers for the last 3 or 4 months. The Pochettino's turning jobs down because he wants to come back to Tottenham. And then when the Tottenham job, allegedly comes available, he now seems to be playing a little bit hard to get. Now, whether he doesn't want to take over now, whether he's waiting for the Real Madrid job to come up in the summer, which is coming up in July when Ancelotti leaves. So Spurs, maybe Levy is keeping his options open. But there is a rumor going around that Enrique, if he does want to come to a club, he does not want to take over in mid-season. He wants to take over at the end of the season and start afresh, really, with a new season coming up. I don't think that's a good idea for Spurs. I think unless we get a new manager in now, we're not going to qualify for Champions League. They're talking about bringing Ryan Mason in, and while he did a good job the last time he was around, I think we need the new manager bounce, a complete new manager bounce, a new style of football if possible, more attacking football that we can win games, and not be sitting behind the couch for the last 10 minutes of matches waiting for it to be caught up like we were on Saturday. So that's the one that to keep an eye on. He's one of the many candidates that are supposed to be in for the job. Hopefully something is decided by the weekend, because the waiting is killing everybody, I think, at this moment. And just to finish off the last couple of comments, Echo Fox again saying, agreed if that's the route, yeah. And here's another one, which this is more or less what I said earlier about Poch anyway. From stuff I've seen, Tuchel and Poch are both eyeing up the Madrid job, so I guess they both want to wait. Yeah, and that's going to cost Spurs. We need to get the manager in now, and that is the only way we're going to say get into the Champions League this season. And the players themselves are now starting to come out and say a few things. I think Pierre-Emile Højbjerg has come out and asked Conte to be a bit more specific in what he said, narrow it down a wee bit or break it down a wee bit into more specific chunks. I don't think that's ever going to happen, because I think the next thing we'll hear from Conte is he'll just come home and clear his desk, and away he goes back to Italy via Ryanair as usual. So that's about it, lads. We don't have any more news. We hope we will have some more positive news on the managerial front by tonight. It's not arrived. We're now going into Thursday morning. Hopefully it's going to be settled by the weekend, certainly before the players come back from international duty, because that's going to happen towards the middle of the next week. And there's only four first teamers training at the ground, at the training ground today, I believe. And Conte isn't back from Italy yet. So it'll be very interesting to see when he was due back and whether a decision is made before he comes back. It has to be done, because you can't have the situation of him coming back from Italy, going into the job as if nothing has happened, and then getting sacked. So best to do it now. So anyway, that's it, lads. Listen, thanks very much for tuning in. And hopefully Dermot's back on in the morning. And hopefully we've got a bit of news that we can give you that there is a new manager at Tottenham. So in the meantime, good night, everybody, and come on, you Spurs.